Hey guys, we have a $100 AFCO gift card and 4 LK lures rigged with beast hooks to give away. All you have to do is fill out a short survey and enter your email address in the box below. The link is located on Instagram and at the podcast description. Giveaway ends July 11th. My birthday, bro. And thanks again for all the support. We really appreciate it. Check out LK Lures on Instagram. They make amazing weedless baits. And check out AFCO. Big supporter, Matt Florentino. Really appreciate it, bro. Later. So, all right, looks like we got all the levels. So we're ready to go. Okay. Welcome to Cast and Crank Podcast. Today we have a very interesting guy, Matt Peters.
Woo! Thanks, Nick. Interesting. I'm different, I guess. All right.
I know Matt from the DVD. So, like I said, I've only been fishing for maybe 10, 11 years, and when I got into freshwater fishing, then the swim bait thing popped up, and then the DVD, I bought that DVD, so I kind of know you on a different level than I met some of the other saltwater guys, because I've been freshwater fishing longer, and I've seen the DVD, and I was like,
sure,
man, this is crazy. So I really want to get into that, but what I really want to know is you have a great freshwater background too, so let's talk about how you got into the whole tournament thing.
Yeah. No, so I mean, I grew up around fishing as a kid, young guy. My dad was he took us camping, whatever, but I really started bass fishing at Laguna Niguel Lake in grade school. It was nearby, I grew up in Laguna Niguel. Mm-hmm. It was nearby. A kid had a Bass Pro Shop catalog. It was like the 1986, I can remember. It was like blue, teal, and we just studied that damn thing just because every lure, I mean, it's more about just educating yourself on every lure and what its purpose was as a tool, right? And, mm-hmm, all the different rods and reels and all this kind of stuff. But I went from, Laguna Niguel Lake to visiting my grandparents in Arkansas, who happened to live within a stone's throw of Ranger boats. I'd fly into Springfield, Missouri, which was the only big Bass Pro Shop there was. Right, so I just had this personal connection to like the world of bass fishing. My grandparents had personal friends who, worked for Ranger, like the controller. His name was Jack Kirsch. So I always had these opportunities to meet folks at Ranger, including Forrest Wood and a lot of the, Charlie Evans and some of these guys, the OG mm-hmm. Operation Bass guys. And I mean, they were very, I got to say, they were larger than life to me at the time, and kind of, they would give me, they were positive, right? They willing to help out any way they could, but did they really have a mechanism to help you out? No, not really, right? Which is fine, right? But I say that because I feel like it was just destiny that here I'm a Southern California guy that had grandparents. I'd fished the White River for brown trout and the rainbows. Up above the White River's Bull Shoals Lake, mm-hmm, right? Up above Bull Shoals is Table Rock. So that White River chain, which a lot of people know from the tournament days these days, great bass fishery, but the river below is a great trout fishery. Uh-huh. And, that's where a lot of bass fishing heritage, I mean, you talk about, anyone from Bill Dance to, of course, Forrest Wood. I'm trying to think of who was the guy that had the White River fly shop from Bass Pro Shop back in the day. Of course, Johnny Morse.
Yeah.
He's an interesting character. But, you go back, Jimmy Houston. All these guys are familiar with that part of the country, and they visit there often. It's kind of ground zero for a lot of bass fishing. So it's just interesting to grow up there and feel like you had a personal connection, and then take that a couple steps further. My parents lived there from like 2000 to 2016. They just got back here, and it's it has to do with health reasons and a lot of reasons. Uh-huh. But so I had a chance when I was living in the South to actually live in Arkansas, real close to, Ranger, and now, you've got Champion, Triton, them all rolled up in the Ranger. You've got Bass Cat boats, you've got Legend boats, all still there. Easy mm-hmm. loader trailers, and now Vexus, is that the new iteration? Keith Daffrin's company.
Okay.
He's the grandson of Forrest.
Okay.
Right. So he started his own, and I believe it's technically in Cotter, which is funny because that's such a small town to have a boat company in this little spot. But that area has been a big influence to me. I was just back there with, in fact, Kevin Matson a few months ago.
Yeah, I saw those. Man, that was some
we got
great,
some mag browns, and that'll be hopefully in the, well, not hopefully, it will be in the second movie that I'm working on if I ever get it done and I don't, procrastinate or just spin myself into, spontaneous combustion over all these
I bet.
thoughts and ideas. And, I tend to just have way too many thoughts in my brain, and I can't focus, and that's neither here nor there. But
has it been a lot easier filming now with the technology compared to previously?
It's interesting because I'm looking at your setup right here. So I still think a tripod in the back of your boat with a non-GoPro. I mean, of course, we can talk about mirrorless and DSLR.
Yeah,
awesome.
That's where I got.
Way
so I got
better.
screwed right here because I'm like, yeah, I can use this one. Well, I'm fucked because after 29 minutes, it's off.
Because of the memory card, or
no? Because DSLRs won't go longer than 29 minutes.
Interesting.
So I bought that first to do the filming here. So then I bought this Canon right here. It's a Vivexa. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think I have that exact same one for my whatever.
So I'm like, all right. So this one, you can enter an interval meter, and you could reset it every 30 seconds. And the only reason I'm using that is so I can get me going, asking you the question. So like that would be. Yeah. But that's what I kind of wanted to know too. Is like if you're doing a second one, it's got to be somewhat easier to film.
Yeah, it's fun because the first one the GoPro was around. They were just probably at a 1.0, 2.0 version.
Yeah.
And I was doing stuff in standard def, and there was just bad information floating around with my little consultant guy that you could technically have a standard def and a high def camera work together, but the ultimate product would have to be standard def, the lowest common denominator, right?
Yeah.
So I was thinking, we have to keep everything standard def or high def. Like you couldn't intermix, and it was just a stupidity.
And that's kind of with audio recording is like where I would record at analog. I'd used to record my drums analog, then dump them into digital. Well, it turns it digital, but you still get a higher definition. You get a different feel depending on what you do. So you might use a higher definition than standard, but you're still going to have a different feel on that.
That's right.
For audio, at least. I don't know about video.
No, it's very. So I mean, made a lot of mistakes. You're right. The technology is different. No, yes, I have. So for number 2, I have got way better. Now I'm using 4K. Right.
Yeah.
We've got GoPros that we can put underwater. We can put them on the head of your trolling motor. You can put them in creative places, and I think that's. A little bit of the secret sauce of us all is some people just seem to be better than others at social media or taking pictures or video or doing anything in front of a camera or a microphone.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to pat myself on the back, but I'm just shocked at the lack of creativity sometimes, or the kind of, unoriginal thinking, or just kind of people copying what's been done for the last 100 years. Or
do you think that's partially because of like Instagram or social media? Like there's a lot more people attempting to do stuff.
I do.
And maybe because you see someone else do it, you think I could do the same thing better, and maybe it isn't better. But
look at their role models, right? So who's the best social media guy you can think of at the highest level?
God, I don't know.
And I don't even follow these guys.
Will Smith?
No. I mean, fishermen.
Fisherman. So who I follow a lot. Who would be
like a Basser, an FLW, or a major league guy?
Iconelli.
They all have social media.
Yeah, Iconelli's got a big page.
He's got a personality. And he's got, love him or hate him, he's got color. Remember when he came on the scene?
Yeah.
I'm going to be frank with you. A lot of guys who tend to be, I say, Southern or more conservative in flow were really like, whoa, this boy's, he's not like us.
You
right?
watch those YouTube videos, and you would see him just getting ready to throw down with dudes out.
Well, he stomped on a flag in the middle of the classic, right? Kind of a bonehead optics.
Yeah. But
where I'm going with that is that the fact that he had personality, he was outside the box and was real. He had emotion and passion and drive, and he was outside the box of this like tucked in shirt. I only can thank the military and my boat for getting me back and forth today, and I mean no disrespect, but I'm saying I feel like a lot of the professional bass fishing has been controlled by outside forces, and these anglers are very inside the box, and it has to do with going back to the social. Why is social media and with bass fishing sometimes or fishermen so kind of lame? Look, they don't have any good role models. I mean, it's only recently we started taking pictures or doing artwork of anything besides grip and grin. We're all guys, holding fish is like that should be your most personal in your bedroom next to your wife and her boudoir pictures, right? Like you shouldn't be posting grip and grin the majority of the time. Is my thought, is my ethos these days, right? That's very selfish. It's very self-indulgent to just be, look at me, versus like, look at the release shot of like my hand, or look at this kelp and some awesome fish tucked away in the rocks, or people are waking up to these.
And I'm guilty of it. I'm not going to say it's hard. Look, it's easy to do.
It's it's. And I mean that you got to take with what I say with a grain of salt to it. Like everything I'm going to say is probably true for some short moment, and probably untrue and. I'm guilty of it. Well, I'm a hypocrite. We all have hypocrisies and contradictions. It's how you deal with it and how honest you are with yourself about them, right? Ultimately, right? Hey, I could talk about all the environmental stuff I want to, but hey, I'm still burning fuel.
Yeah.
I'm still consuming plastics, right? So there's degrees of all this stuff, but at the end of the day, just being conscious and having the character and integrity to address these things head on, instead of, we can't even talk about that stuff.
Yeah.
We can't even handle this conversation because, we're going to think for you, or that's just not appropriate for us. We don't talk like that around here. It's like, no, you don't get to, I don't need your approval to think. I don't need your approval to be my own person. And I think a lot of the bass fishing, these guys just know with what they've seen in this. You look at the sport, and I just don't think it's progressed far. It's been around for long enough where, hey guys, there should be more people making a living, and things are coming around.
Which I feel like Oliver's done a pretty good job of that.
Oh yeah.
Oliver, he's done a.
But think about where he comes from. Big baits.
Yeah.
He has nothing to do with tournament. And so think about the traditional bass fishing folks. They don't like big bait swim bait, right? They can't control us. They can't. well, young man. We're going to tell you how this works. All right. It has nothing to do with glitter boats. It has nothing to do with how cool your jersey is.
Yeah.
How many flames are on your jersey. I mean, the graphic design of people's jersey drives me nuts.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I used to wear a jersey with, Kenny Huddleston, and I'm the furthest thing that anybody would ever talk to, like, as a Christian, right? It's all these fish. But I was like, I like the compromise of it. I was like, look, don't you see? There's some soulful thought here if you think. But in the grand scheme of things, I'd like to be part of a look. I want to help elevate fishing to a higher place, a more sophisticated place, like help people experience it, help people educate, help come from a little smarter than like we're in God's country, God bless the outdoors, and look, I'm kissing, I mean, God bless Jimmy Houston, right?
Yeah.
Did you ever learn a single thing watching his TV show? I mean, guys fishing on private ponds, and I love Hank Parker, I love these guys, but the same guys are still in charge and kind of still the guys, and I'm like, I'm not trying to, I have a lot of respect for where these guys have brought the sport, but I feel like it's been very selfish. It's been very like, okay, a couple people have benefited at the top, and the rest of everybody are paying their, pretty much subsidizing these guys at the top, and these guys at the top are in this power grab for control, i.e. Johnny Morris, i.e. Forrest Wood, i.e. these top level tournament organizations, like. I mean, when I read things that, I don't know. Sometimes I feel like, there's all these goofiness. I'm like, these guys have done pretty darn well, right? You know what I mean? As far as, we all pay our entry fees. We all pay big money for these boats. And yes, there's a lot of value into these boats and things, but the inability for these guys to take return on investment of sponsorship seriously. Mm-hmm. So like if someone gives you $10 million to represent, and you can't figure out a way to tell the anglers to go, swipe your card before you fill up with gas so we can prove to BP that their $10 million actually generated $100 million. Uh-huh. Why has that never been? I mean, like, have you ever seen a major tournament organization actually have you track what you spend from a sponsor? Trackable, quantifiable. Yeah. And these guys have been conveniently leaving out the return on investment of sponsorship, I think purposely, because that money that they get, I don't think they want to know. They don't want people to know where it goes. And that's none of my business, and I get it. These are private organizations, all that kind of thing. But when you start talking about elevating sports to higher level, having true professionals,
so turning the sport into more of a professional sport than it is
like
just...
Major League or any other sport. These numbers are kind of auditable. There's more of a, you've got more of a
I compare it maybe to, like, if I could think of something I'm really into, MMA. You've watched it over the years, kind of like where even they got screwed on the Reebok. I don't know if you follow up, but they did a deal with Reebok, and it was horrible. But the same thing, I get what you're getting at, is the sponsorship and, making this revolutionize it a little more to come up to the time.
How many sponsors? I mean, and I'm picking on the FLW, and I love them. I mean, and I say like, and I mean this genuinely. Like I like having hard, awkward conversations, especially as it gets into business and the finance and the technical marketing side of professional fishing, bass fishing. Kevin Matz and I talk about the crossover thing into saltwater. We can get into that as far as that whole thing. But you've got to be comfortable to be like, if you looked at how many sponsors FLW has had from wrapped boats, I mean, it's got to be in the like. What happened to Banana Boat? What happened to Snickers? Like, there's always some context that someone wants to walk me through about merger, acquisition, or I'm like, no, because you never made an effort to say, go buy a Snickers bar, and then put in this code, and it'll say that it came from a fisherman, and voila, we've proved our value. You know what I'm saying? And that, like, nobody who's ever sat in a real marketing conversation of millions of dollars. They're always talking about return on that investment. How do we track that money? And somehow in bass fishing, that just never comes up. Yeah. And I'm not buying it. I am not buying it. There is something that doesn't pass the sniff test. They don't want us to know where the money's going. And look, it's private business. It's none of our business. But when you're telling me when we're paying, if we're just paying for our own pot money to fish against, what value do you bring as a tournament organization? We'll bring our own scale.
How long did you fish professionally?
So I was relocated to Atlanta, Georgia in 2005. I was 27 years old. I was working for a software company in Aliso Viejo, doing really well, and I got the opportunity to like, hey, Matt, you want to be the regional director and get in the field and just run the Southeast thing? I was like, whoa, gnarly. I've never been there. So I packed up my Suburban, towed the boat, got to Atlanta.
And this is you already started you were already entering tournaments at this time?
I mean, I had fished in San Diego. I had fished through college as an amateur, done really, I got to fish with John Murray and, Dean Rojas and Aaron Martins, all the guys from the West. I felt very, as an amateur, right? But I was in college. I was clearly on more of as much as I wanted to fish, in college and out of college, go work for Ranger Boats or Mercury or whatever it was. It became pretty apparent to me. I'm like, dude, I gotta just get a job. There is no career here. There is no college bass fishing yet. There is no industry that can support a young sales marketing guy. Yeah. And I'll be truthful, I'm glad there wasn't. I mean, it forced me to get into software, which I totally was not a techie guy. I'm still not a techie guy, but I've learned to like totally live in this technology world, software. I can get into why I think it's better to not have a career in fishing and.
That's why I kind of derailed you a little, because since we're talking about the sponsorship and stuff, I kind of want to know how your career went.
Oh,
and
I'm
how
sorry,
kind of, and I don't want to feel like I cut you off in the beginning,
no.
But it was more of, let's get back to that same conversation because I liked it, but I want to know how you started and then get back to that conversation of this is how payment works. Because people, I don't know, when you hear how hard a struggle is for a professional tournament angler, I mean, people might go, wow, that's really fucking hard.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
No,
so I'll let you keep going.
And that's my intent, kind of with the second.
Great.
My second video is I kind of share my story, like my personal thing, and like, take this for what it's worth. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's this is my story. Now, had I caught fish on this day, my life could have changed. Or had I done, let me get back to how I got there. So. Yeah. 2008 comes around. I've been working hard in Atlanta, traveling, selling software. The world's melting down. I'd made a bunch of money. It was clear to me that I had the finances to just support myself for, I had like $100,000 in the bank, say, right? Mm-hmm. I had a Suburban that was only a few years old. I had an older, like a 2001 518 Ranger. And before I resigned from my job, I was smart. Of course, I got the financing to get a new used boat, like one of the team boats from the year before. So you get the Ranger Cup, all the good stuff, right? I rented out my house in Atlanta. I sold off all my furniture and put everything else in storage. And I kind of, I went after like, hey, I'm going to fish full time. I didn't know what that meant, right? So I knew I was going to fish the FLW. I knew I was going to fish whatever I could get. The opens, right? I mean, there's only so many, I couldn't, I suppose you could pay to play at the tour level, but not at, certainly not the elite level. But, I went out there. My first event was Okeechobee. I mean,
No sponsors yet?
Oh, well.
Did you have sponsors at this time or not a legit sponsor?
I mean, I never have had a paying sponsor that was worth even mentioning here, right? So when I like, I have great product sponsors, right?
Yes.
I work with some of the best swimbait guys around, and I'm very blessed. Taco Warehouse, those guys have been, so indirectly those guys pay, but that's more of an affiliate relationship through the blog, which I'm thankful to have and thankful to perpetuate, and I hope to keep doing that. I think it's great when you look at the model. Guys like Tactical Bassin have used, like, hey, you talk about a said product, you show that it can be used well and how it's in these different conditions, and you have a link. If people click on it, it links them to Taco Warehouse, they get a credit of it. That's their driving net new incremental sales, showing a product in use. I mean, God forbid a company like, I'm Strike King or, I don't care who it is, had video of their own products being used.
Yeah.
Winter, spring, summer, fall, not one session on some private lake with some ding dong with the GoPro, right? Going back to the technology, GoPro is awesome, but as you know, it's so zoomed out. It's so like you're not catching fish blowing up on stuff. The audio's not good.
Yep.
People that are doing just GoPro are single dimensional, right? So that's that whole, like, you need a GoPro. You need a mirrorless camera. Just don't even go DSLR.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? You need a good point and shoot. I mean, iPhones and all this stuff are great, but I don't know. I'm one of these guys where, like, I want to have all my tools. I want to have an underwater drone. I'm kind of messing around with friggin' like PVC pipes and different floaties to have to, like, hey, when we're fishing, especially like in the calicos, we'll just throw a camera out when every time you're reeling in, you got a school of fish at your bait. Like, to me, that's the video, and those are the screen grabs and this artwork and the real life stuff that we're totally missing. I mean, they have these kids that are following around these pros at, like, the FLW, right? And they're great kids, right? I'm sure they're paid and they're following around. They take these great photos, but that didn't happen until not that long ago. It's like you open up any Bassmaster or any fishing magazine, it's either guys on stage, guys holding fish, or some ridiculous. Sorry, I got away from the microphone. Or some ridiculous thing where the guy's bending over the rail in some, like, super pose grab, like he's, like this victory. And again, I guess if I was the guy and I'd won the $1 million, I'd probably be like, hey, that's a cool pose, right? I mean, selfishly, I've never been in that position, right? But I'm like, I'm still like, why? I'm shocked at the lack of creativity or the lack of being able to show the sport in better, surfing is super photogenic, right? You can take a picture of surfing and always look awesome, and fishing can be, but it's like not on stage. It's not. It's got to be on the lake, and it's got to be, the guy casting, making a sick skip cast under.
And then, you know what I love seeing is when dudes are setting the hook and that fish is barely coming out of the water.
That's right.
That's kind of what I love seeing.
First boil or surge.
It's like, oh, here it comes. That's more like, oh, fuck yeah.
That's right.
Then it's like, that's cool seeing the,
Yeah.
And I feel like, some people, I feel like he captures a lot of that, and I like that.
No, he's very mindful of the pictures and the video. Same with Mattson. I mean,
oh god,
Kevin doesn't want to do. He doesn't want to think about. I mean, he's the guy that just wants to be clear headed. He doesn't have any stress on his mind from work. Right? He's been at the same job for 30 years. God bless him. I envy this. I just love it because I'm always like, Kevin. I wish my head could be clear. It's just I'm the exact opposite. I have all these go just by nature. Then I'm in digital software craziness as a career, and I love it. It pays me really well, and it's super interesting, and it's tied to current world politics. And quite frankly, what we're going to be talking about for the next 50 years, at least the rest of my lifetime, will be talking about what's happening right today.
Exactly.
So anyway, getting back on target, I feel like, having good friends that and people you fish with that have some skills in the boats to take your photos and stuff, but having people like, I'm working on putting up, like, framing in different types of ways to have cameras on gyroscopes or tracks that are simple, saltwater proof, marine proof, you know what I'm saying? But if you had thick PVCs and mounts and clips and stuff, that you can use these mirrorless cameras and the DSLRs as almost like you're using your tripod in the back of your boat, but now you're 10 feet closer and you're getting the best of the audio. You can be more zoomed. So if you're on a bite and you have your buddy standing behind you as you're filming your swim bait stuff or over your shoulder and you're on a bite, that's killer footage. I mean, that camera that's right,
over to your right,
over to your right, like a foot,
yeah,
like up here is the perfect angle, and it's just, I mean, it's hard to fix.
And to film like that, like we did a pilot, it was me, Bobby Martinez, Eric Bent, Jeff Leifson. It's still getting edited. I don't know what the fuck's gonna happen with it.
Sure,
but the footage, I got to look through it. Oh my god, we had 3 boats. So it was like we went to PV, and some of the footage we had drones, we had everything. It looks so fucking cool. Like, it's crazy. He's from the side and another boat kind of but the money it takes to do that, like is like crazy,
right? The coordination
and yeah, it's like
well, and I think guys have, you know. Let me make sure I'm clear here. So like when I've talked to Oliver, and I know it frustrates to hell because he spends all this time and they capture and create amazing edits and vids. But he doesn't get all the play sometimes that he thinks it should, versus somebody who just stands in front of a pond and says, and actually narrates through it, talks through it. Because that's my style. I mean, people saw. I mean, that's
what I like, is that I love the talking, and you know what I really liked about your DVD was the music.
Wow,
I love the music.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I mean, as a guy that's
and I'm like, I love that. It's something different too. It was like something a little different.
It was meant to be like a tip of the hat, to be soulful, to be. I mean, and again, to be like I don't know about you guys, but when I was out here in Appalachia, the furthest thing from anything was gangsta rap or hardcore punk or flat bills and fucking. I'm like, it's you're tone deaf if you don't understand the Appalachian connection and bluegrass. Right. Yes. And as a guy, like, again, like if a Southern boy wanted to come out here and show some props to like Tommy Curran and some of our, you know, Skip Fry and some of Joel Tudor, some of our favorite surfers, we'd love to see that. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? Like that's showing respect in my mind, right? But no, I'm an acoustic bluegrass kind of deadhead guy. So I mean, that was Jerry Garcia and David Grisman. So like a bunch of, you know, I was like, dude, I want to. You know, I want to educate people on. I mean, I kind of think of myself as like, you know, I don't want to. It's not about politics, but from the left, I feel like the sport is so damn conservative, and so from the right that it's like, guys, we don't need country music and the same old, or some like we don't need this whole like things got to explode and flash and people have no attention span. Yeah, I get it. But you're like, well, but you don't you're perpetuating it by just agreeing with it and not doing anything different. So, I mean, that movie's 2 hours and 41 minutes, or maybe it's even 2 hours and 43. All of it. I'll be the first one to tell you. I watch it these days. I laugh my ass off. I can't believe I did that. I can't believe I went like this. I can't like how. I mean
So let's get back. I want to
go ahead.
It's there.
I'm sorry. I
love it.
Keep the rails on me.
I love it because I'm so interested. I keep asking a different question. So you started fishing tournaments. You quit your job.
Oh yeah.
You did all that. You get your boat. You start entering the FLW.
I literally had a boat and a truck and all my gear. So like I could load up and just I was on the road, right? And I wasn't sure how long or how far I could make this last, but you know, hey, I got $100,000 in the bank. I got a boat and a truck. I got a boat payment. You know, I mean, you can my operating costs per month were a couple grand a month. So I'm like, hey, I can make this last, you know, at least a year or so.
Yeah.
You know, that first year, I mean, I learned so much. I mean, I remember I cashed like a $10,000 check at Eufaula in Alabama. And it was like my second like tour level. It wasn't the tour, but it was called it was the BP series or the series events, FLW series, not BP. And that was the big boys. And you got to remember that in 2009, the world was melting down, literally. Literally, Wall Street's melting down. We'd invaded the wrong country. I mean, the whole world's on fire. And the bass fishing sport is limping along, albeit, but you don't have a bunch of Joe Schmoes competing. People are fighting for food on the table and to pay rent and stuff like this. So I felt like the field that I was fishing against was like the creme of the creme at any level. And we didn't have great participation. You'd have 130, 120, 150 man fields versus today they're drawing 200, 250 all day, right?
But like you said, you had the top dogs, all the top dogs you're fishing against.
They were heavies in this super competitive. It wasn't like there was lots to go around. It wasn't like they were paying down and like, you know, everybody gets a trophy, right, Matt?
Yeah.
Wink, you know, you give me a little elbow.
Yeah.
You liberal guys, everybody gets a participation. I'm like, bro, I never got a participation trophy nor a participation check. Let me just be clear. You know what I'm saying? So that was you know, I was very proud to compete against those guys. And I mean, I look at those moments, and I finished. My best performances were my rookie season. I had a top 10 on Santee Cooper. If you've been to Santee Cooper and you're a boy from San Diego, and you don't have someone to show you how to run around, I mean, you're running through flooded cypress trees, cypress stumps. You talk about intimidating. You know what I mean? How to run through these places. I mean, drooping friggin' moss on the trees. I've been in a campground. Literally, guys are talking about having their clan papers. I'm not kidding you. Oh, like just crazy backwoods stuff. Like, yeah, man, I got my papers. I'm like, what the fuck? You got paper? My boy nudges me, and he kind of fills me in on what homeboys talk about, his papers. I'm like, oh yeah. I mean, just the tone of the conversation. You can just, I mean, it's amazing.
Wild.
It's wild. It is. And you take it all in. I mean, you're like South Carolina. I mean, the place has 1700s American history, Revolutionary War monuments. We don't have those out here, except for maybe Father Junipero Cerro and the Mexicans, right?
Yeah.
But it's a whole other world out there. It was humbling. It was educational. I enjoyed the hell out of it, and I don't know. I have this mindset. I want to try to unify the country through fishing, and that's a really broad stroke to say. Right here, I am. I mean, I'm the first one to just badmouth lately, but it's because I have been out there and took it on the chin, and was the first one to be like, "Well, you guys are sure hard on this guy that seems to be pulling us in a recovery, and really hard on this." You know, I just, I'm forgive me. I'm going to go off on a tangent here, but I just personally, the world of fishing, I feel like, is super aligned with things that I'm not. And frankly, it's going to hold the sport back. It's going to hold the sponsors back. People who are sophisticated are not cool with conspiracy, QAnonymous, automatic guns, and a bunch of... It's just straight not truth and reality, really. I mean, these people have gotten themselves... The pendulum swung too far right in some cases, and again, as it relates to the sport, I don't want to be part of something that's associated with white trash, swastikas, and rebel flag stuff. You know what I mean? That's no. I put too much effort in. I have too much invested in this sport. Like, I'm not going to just roll over and let you guys think you own it. And that's that tournament mindset. These guys who like the big level tournament guys, they've got their own thing going on, and that's where the swim bait, big bait kind of derails these guys. They're like, well we don't know anything about throwing a 10-inch bait. What are you talking about?
When you were entering the tournaments, were you throwing big baits then?
Oh man, I was throwing big baits every chance I had, and yes, but I mean, if you want to talk about lessons learned or mistakes, it was like, I mean, I should have been throwing more boot tails. To put it frankly, more Kitech, more bass tricks, more the simple stuff. But I of course, I'm all poo poo. Like, well, if I want to throw a triple trout, bro, I want to throw the hose, I want to throw the vortex tail. I'm sold, bro. I'm bringing a longboard to pipeline and taking off on a drop knee turn, bro. But that being said, so I had amazing results in some places, but I mean, a lot of that was trout eater driven, right? Not tournament lake driven, right? So you go to places that have trout, and that was what the DVD was about. Was like, dude, there's amazing trout eaters out here.
Yeah,
there's trout eaters all over the country that aren't being tapped. That's a clear. People have to get the trout eater. So when you talk about swim bait, you have to be like, okay, we're talking about trout eaters, yes, no. I mean, the workflow literally starts yes, no at the top. Are we talking trout eaters? Yes, no, and then go from there, right? Mm-hmm. And that's kind of, again, my second. I'm kind of trying to simplify the breakdown here. And what does a non-trout eater lake? What lessons can you learn? And for example, like throw the swim Senko. Put on a darn swim Senko from Gary Yamamoto, 5-inch one, with one of those screw lock owner hooks to make it wriggle with. Throw it on straight 50-pound braid on a light action 8-footer to whip that sucker out there. Reel it in on a slow grind and fish eat the hell out of it. Reeling a worm. Swimming a worm like. That I don't know why they eat it so well. It's so unnatural. Yeah. But fish eat the heck out of it. Now, are you going to catch a 19-pounder doing that? No. And to Ken Huddleston's points, if you're going to hunt big ones, that vortex tail, and even in like a Okeechobee, I could go through an area, fish the swim Senko, and go catch 15, 20 fish. I go through that same area and not catch a Huddleston fish for 5 days. But when I did, it was a 9.
Yeah.
But still, I mean, it proved the point. But it's like in a tournament situation, it's just like, dude, Kenny, I wasn't getting 3 bites. I wasn't getting 5 bites. I was getting one every, 12 or 16 hours of hardcore chunking versus going through areas and getting a 2 or 3 pounder. And you have these areas and you get these milk runs where you can do some kind of empirical testing. And that's what I think is key with what you're doing. We've got to have real data points and real video and real people to back things up. This can't be fishing used to be all about like, people are like, it's funny because people want to hide information or provide disinformation, information warfare, very relevant topic, right?
Yeah.
In the world sense. Think about information warfare in the world of swim bait fishing. Guys who maybe catch a fish on a bed and then they hang a swim bait in their mouth. Guys who maybe snag a fish and do even weirder stuff, or guys who transport fish from one lake to the other to claim fish records. And there's all kinds of dirty tricks that dudes fishing with live trout, fishing with live crawdad.
Wild.
Who knows, right? Fishing and disinformation, misinformations are really, we can all relate to it, right? So it's something that the more the more information that's out there that's got video footage and people to back it up, the better. As far as like, I'm not trying to pull the wool over someone's eyes. I get it that people are fishing for a living, right? This is what they do. But these guys at the highest level who can't go to an event, fish it, and then become clean on what they did to fish the event, that blows me away, right? Come on, guy. Like you were throwing a drop shot, some of these guys are so secretive at the highest level. It's boring. Like to socialize with these guys, like, well, I guess we'll just talk about nothing. You don't want to talk about your fishing.
Yeah.
I don't agree with you on basically anything on a social level.
Just fishing.
and the fishing stuff you guys give me is either misinformation, disinformation. You're conveniently leaving out the juice. And it just didn't, there's times it just doesn't feel like it's a give take. It's like, oh, I'm going to suck all the swim bait information and juice out of you, but
not going to give anything back.
Throw a flat build, or not flat build. Throw a flat sided crankbait. It took us 40 years to extract that out of the North Carolinas, right? Like the Carolina, like cold water it's flat. It doesn't wiggle like a round one, so that it'll push against the water, and therefore it's more subtle and it's a better cold water finesse crankbait. It took us 40 years and 1,000 of us networking and to get this.
Get that information.
That's hyperbole, right? That's me talking. But I'm saying that's the thing. Like I'm okay with sharing information. I want to perpetuate the sport. I want to be seen as more of a sportsman, a gentleman, versus like I'm not the guy I'm never going to be the guy holding $1 million check on stage. I've had to come to grips with that, and I'm okay with that. Mm-hmm. Right? I went out and I traveled. I fished this thing. I made it for 4 years on the pro circuit. Getting back to that, right?
Congratulations, man.
Well, I was self-financed. Nobody paid me. Nobody paid me money.
It's still good to like be able to fish that.
It was the time of my life. It was the risk of my life. It was the education of my life, and I would do it again. I would do it again and spend twice the money because it was the education to myself about my own fishing, but it was more of an education to myself about myself, being able to see myself from outside myself, my own mistakes I made in real time, and will continue to make, but at least I'm conscious of them and can try to react better or get off the, some of the, I had like 20, I was in 10th place after day one of an FLW Tour event on Okeechobee. Yeah. And I've been practicing for like a month, and this was after 6 years of 4 or 5 seasons of going out there. So this is like a culmination. I was like top 10. I'm looking at the list. I'm like Roland Martin and
dude.
I should have looked. I should not. I did like day 2. I damn near blanked. I went from 10th to drop to like 60th, and it was like. I literally, I have never been like you've that movie with Joe Pesci. I think it's Casino. Where like he got his nose busted. He's like the guy's busted wide open down here in the casino. When you're just like you're drunk, you're angry, you're hammered, you hate the world, everything. And I was just one of these guys. And I'm looking back at this and thank God that I made it through the night at the Tiki Bar that night in Okeechobee amongst my peers. You know what I'm saying? No, the Tiki Bar in Okeechobee, which is where all the fishermen are. And I got these guys ribbing me for fucking flushing down the toilet on the. And you can only take so much of that ribbing before you blow, right? And oh man, so it all good. But I've had people kind of rib me like, hey, would you do it again? Did you got spanked and you had to go back to California? Ha ha. You're like, what? Like, what are you talking about?
I tried.
I was out there like, and the thing is, you check. There's times like, and this is, I'm gonna give you some deeper thoughts. So Oliver, the dream machine. I love that. That's his brand, that's his thing. But when you check a box on one of your dreams, i.e., hey, I went and fished something, or I want to go pursue this or that, and now I'm 42, right? So when age, you can look back on things. But I checked the box, and it's like, now what? It's this weird thing. So like, once you do, like, you're going to achieve your dreams if you work at them. You're going to achieve them, and then you got to be like, well, shit. Now how do I keep motivated to keep going? Because I've kind of already now done that, and Oliver seems to have this dream, and he keeps pushing him and driving him, like, and He seems to wake up every morning fired up as he lives a real healthy lifestyle, and God bless him, right? Like I think there's, but on the other side of it, I'm like, I do want to talk about feelings and emotions. I do want to talk about the mental side of a lot of fishing. I do want to talk about the rights and the wrongs in the industry and the sports and blah 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 blah. But I'm sorry, I'm kind of bouncing around here, but I had a train of thought on that. But it's when you've achieved your dream, when you've kind of done something next, right. What the heck next?
Yeah, I'm gonna open the window, hot as fuck.
Yeah, no, I'm warm too. Yeah.
That's the next investment in air conditioning on this thing.
Oh yeah, no worries. No, I tend to run warm myself.
I'll go on. So, what's next after the dream? That's kind of what.
Well, and that's what it's been, right? So the hardest part for me has been it was after I did that. So now it's like, oh man, I got to go back to software. I got to start at like a mid level where I left the industry on a high level. I got to fight my way back. I came back to California. Basically, all my friends are married and whatever. So like, just getting your social life, just get together, getting my career back together, and just kind of being, a little bit burnt out on fishing. I put all this into it, and I felt like, hey, as much fun and, it wasn't. I put it in the moment. It's not fun. Tournament fishing, I don't find as fun as swim bait fishing. Right? Like I can go throw swim baits for days, not catch one, and not be bummed about it. But in the tournament, it's so stressful. There's so much anxiety, at least for me at that time, when you're kind of financially dependent on these things. You've got a lot invested. I'm feeling like the universe just hates me. Everything I'm like, that year I choke at Okeechobee, the other event that I was already. I mean, the reason I signed up for the tour, you pick your events. Like, well, I'm gonna probably suck at those two, but those was Table Rock Lake, right? I'm like, oh man, I'm gonna smash him at Table Rock in May, warm weather, triple trout, bang. I'm gonna have my chance. What happens in that tournament? Canceled, flood.
Oh God.
Yeah. Oh,
that fucked it up real good for you.
Oh yeah. No, and not to mention that flood wrecked my parents' property downriver too. God. I mean, it was like biblical stuff. And you take this, and I'm like, dude, I'm not a Bible guy, but I get it. I get how people have these beliefs and feelings and stuff like this. It's the human experience is just a trip. But anyway, like those 4 years. I mean, at the end of, I remember that last season I fished. Where I was doing, and again, not the upper level, but I was doing like those Stren series. I mean, I could cash a check in every single one of those events. But you're making, when it's all said and done, you're maybe breaking even. You know what I mean? You're not making money. You're certainly not paying for a mortgage or something on this kind of living. And truthfully, my advice to the young people is, I mean, get a career, have something you can fall back on, especially out of school. Get started in something so that you have something. Because if you just try to get into fishing and you never got a job that, like, you got a couple years of experience you could put on a resume and feel comfortable walking into any day of after the rest of your life, it's hard to get that back. You know what I'm saying? These guys just get out of school, or they don't apply stuff, or it doesn't have to be college. It can be high school, whatever. Get a trade or some kind of a craft that you can kind of lean on and hedge your bets. I mean, everybody's got a different situation. If you have a wife or a girlfriend who's willing to travel with you, and you don't have kids, and you're young, and you guys can somehow fund it, whatever, rock out. Right? You know what I mean? But if you're trying to drag your wife and kid around to the country to fulfill your dream, and you're robbing Peter to pay Paul and living off of credit cards, like it's not fun. Like, and I tell people about the tournament lifestyle, I'm like, dude, I was literally living out of suburban, having to pack. I mean, I got so frustrated. It's like trying to put on your boat cover on and off every day, except it's unloading it's like unloading your house. Like, it's like moving. I'm like, boat. I got my living room, family room, and garage inside my suburban, so I got to move that in and out of the hotel room every 6 seconds. It's awesome, and I'm getting my ass whipped. And I'm throwing away $4,000 to $7,000 every time I'm doing this. So those were, excuse me, those were the dynamics, right? That I found, like, hey, look. At the end of the day, I think these guys who are traveling and doing the full-time fishing thing are awesome, and I wish I was one of those guys. I don't think there's any. I mean, God, if I could catch him like who's this young kid? I'm thinking his name, the kid from Indiana, Jacob Wheeler, right? So I met Jacob as a young kid, and just to see him progress, and it's this really interesting connection to it. He has a friend of mine. We have a mutual friend named Sean Weeda, who I bought my Skeeter boat from. In fact, I met him on the trail. So he's a guy that kind of similar. He was a corporate guy. He had money, and in 2008 he said F the world too. Yeah, and he went fishing. So I met him on the scene, right? He's the same. You guys are the same story, same DNA. So he was a personal friend of Jacob Wheeler, and Jacob Wheeler just shows up, a high school kid one day, and just starts whacking fish out of Sean's boat, practicing for Lake Champlain. And I remember thinking, like, oh, this kid's a real good fisherman, and da-da-da. But he just had such nonchalant faith that everything was going to work out. And sure as hell, I see him on TV a couple years later, like in that Redman All-American. And now he's as big as you can get. But I see these guys. Those guys are making a living, making a great living, and doing a great job and living the dream. And they're in a comfortable environment. It's not easy for a dude from San Diego or SoCal to exist in these different places, right? Yeah. There's guys from Northern Cal, like, Justin, what's Justin's last name? He fished for the oh man, Anyway, it's interesting to see the anglers who've gone west or gone from the west to the east. Which ones stayed? Which ones have come and gone? And which guys it fit their DNA to be out there, right? Some guys that's just they were already kind of from they were already kind of like Luke Lawson. He comes from like Spokane, Washington, kind of a rugged rural place. Like he's a great fit in the South. Whereas some of us, I feel like we couldn't be more awkward. You know what I mean? You're just completely sticking out. But so my time. So I fished full time for 4 years. I tell people you spend 10 grand to make 5 grand. That's kind of how the numbers work. So you're kind of slowing your hemorrhaging. And when I was done, I was kind of convinced, like, it's really hard to make a living in fishing. You probably, I don't know if you can do it. Now, fast forward to 2019, and you walk around downtown San Clemente and Dana Point. What's everybody wearing?
Salty Crew.
Salty Crew. That's exactly right. Salty Crew might be the straw that broke the camel's back, because now all of a sudden you got cool kids rocking this. They got the surfer vibe. They've got it's making fishing really cool, right?
Yeah, I agree.
Right, and I'm in the mindset now. Like, I don't know, maybe the sport will actually blow up from the kids up, and I'm glad to see these saltwater influences. And this kind of dovetails into the crossover fishing. I bought a Skeeter bay boat that's got a trolling motor. It's a badass saltwater bass boat with high gunnels, is what it is, right? And it's a sick swim bait boat. It's a sick all around. It handles rough water. People in the freshwater should be running these boats. Mm-hmm. I think the boats these guys run on are dangerous. I don't like bass boats no more. I don't like riding around in them. They're shallow. Yeah. Okay, if I'm going to go on San Vicente to go fishing with you for a day, cool, right? But if we're going to go fish Lake Mead in a tournament, like running 70 miles an hour in rough water and those things, it's literally bad for your body, bad for your back, bad for your ears. Yeah. And the risk factor, I don't know, man. Some of these guys should be boat racers and boat drivers and not fishermen. It's like there's something about that blast off. The guys just, they won't give an inch. They don't. It's just, I don't need to die to run to a fishing spot, right? The amount of, there, huh? Well, the side waves, and you get in some of these, like, the narrows in Lake Mead. You got the waves are bouncing back and forth. The guys in boats could easily flip, bow hook. There's all kinds of. Running in the fog. I remember running on Lake Seminole in the fog with stump fields and stuff like that. They just let guys go, and if you slow down, you got 100 guys behind. It's just a hell of a deal. Yeah. And I love tournament fishing. I love the competition, but when there's things like, do I miss any of that stuff? Like, no, man, I don't know. No. And that's why I think it's like fishing at the highest of levels. They have advantages. They don't think they have to deal with things. You're not having 300-man fields. They have to go rip roaring across. You don't have. You don't have a co-angler in the back, right? You're not, you don't have to worry about the angles and the guy in the back of the boat doing something that can mess up your game. So there's all kinds of benefits at that higher level. But look, I think those guys, my hat is off. I am just like, it tickles me to death to see guys on TV or on the internet today and be like, dude, I know that guy. I hung out with that guy. I fished with that guy in that one cove in that one spot. Or, like Randy Tharp of all the, the guy's a heavy. Him and his wife, sweetest people ever to me, and they have no reason to be other than I hung out with them on the kind of like they camped out a lot. I would camp out a lot. We'd see them in these. We'd spend the same months or two in Okeechobee and stuff, but I got to meet a lot of really good fishermen. I really appreciated the respect that they showed me, especially on the big bait thing. Of course, they wanted to know, they wanted to learn. And I was glad to show them, glad to talk about it. It helped me crack the ice to be able to ask them a question or two, just to get like, dude, how do you so this eelgrass thing or this whole punching thing? Give me, throw me a bone here, right? Like, and there's, I'm always interested in the super deep in the weeds. Like, wait a minute, you've been fishing a crankbait for 20, 30 years and you don't have anything super deep to say? Like, what are you thinking about when you're out there? Like, are you just, you know what I mean? Like, there's certain, like, we go out there, we spend all these hours and then people just want to, like, see, like, high-level fish pictures. They just want to talk, like, you don't ever want to have an in-depth conversation about a square bill. This specific one, in fact. like there's I saw this post the other day by, who's homeboy Rago? Danny Rago?
Yes.
Right? He's that boy slays him, right?
Yeah.
He's got 2 slide swimmers, right? 2 trout-colored sliders, and he's like, learn one bait and learn it well. And I'm like, thank God. It's like, Jesus, I throw sliders, I throw HUDs, I throw triple trouts. You got a couple tools, and you've learned. You have to know how to fish that bait in current, at night, on braid, in the dark, on all these weird things. Knowing, having bait control, having bait awareness, having good running baits that you just know how to control them and how to stall them and how to keep neutral buoyancy and how to work the bow in your line to get a better swim.
Do you feel like a lot of people don't do that nowadays and they just throw hook baits, maybe?
Well, yeah, I mean, I have a whole mindset. If you're not throwing braid, you're just screwing up on 80% of things. Now, if
now
you're
on swim baits,
if you're hard baits especially, even hoodies.
Really?
I caught my. So let me give you some empirical evidence. I caught a near 10-pound brown trout in the middle of the day on 80-pound braid straight on a Huddleston 4 months ago.
Wow.
In February 2019, with witnesses in the boat. We have it on film. You'll see it. Matt, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, Kevin, same thing. He's throwing the Gancraft slider,
yeah.
right? And so what braid provides you, it's harder snaps, harder angles, more radical turns. It's like going to Baja with one guy's got 2-wheel drive, one guy's got 4-wheel. Mm-hmm. Who's going to go down the gnarlier trail and get to the sicker spot on the beach?
Yeah,
the dude with the 4-wheel drive, right?
Of course.
Would you rather yank a vehicle with a steel chain, or would you rather use rope? Chain, right? You're gonna, you know what I mean? If you had to do something dramatic to move something, right? It's like that's the difference between braid and like mono. I know that fluorocarbon has some, like if I'm gonna go to Lake Poway or Lake Dixon, some like legendary trout eater, Lake Miramar, and hunt for the one, I'm not gonna be throwing braid. I'm probably be throwing a heavy fluorocarbon slow. Now that's slow grinding a HUD, right? Looking for the bite. A rate of fall 0 with like 1 nail weight. Or my trap hook rigging that gives enough weight to just make that thing sick, suspend, slow grind. You're looking for the bite, very, that's a very finessey kind of presentation mentality. But other than a slow grind HUD, I'm braid, and it's creating a reaction bite with your swim bait by fishing hard, fast, and then throwing a huge stall in the middle of it. Just fishing it so quick and fast and hard, and then killing it, and the fish just have no. It's like if you and I are standing right here and some amazing supermodel just walked by naked, we would turn our head. There's no, not because not a disrespect your way, it's just gonna happen. So you put a quick moving bait, something like that in front of a bass and make it move really, really quick, and then stop it. He's gonna come over there, and they don't have hands, so they tend to interpret the world with their mouth. Whether or not they're trying to eat that thing is to be determined. They're just trying to grab it and see what, like, they don't know how else to interpret the world is the way I look at a lot of big bait stuff. A rat, same thing. They're not necessarily trying to eat that thing. They just kind of pull it underwater, see what it does, or like they're curious little creatures that they don't have hands.
Because I usually hear people say no braid mono, or 30-pound mono, 25.
Yeah.
So it's a good to hear someone else's perspective.
When Kevin and I fished Lake Mead, and the first thing I was like, he picked up a frog rod of all things and started fishing this frog on a couple grass mats, and I was watching how I'm like, dude, you and I we're on the same wavelength here. You literally point at your lure and you reel hard, like 6, 12, 6, 12, 6, 12, 6, 12, 6, and that. Right, that's creating. There's no rod in it. It's all. So it's saving the body fatigue part of big baits. I don't know where this conversation went. This is again part 2 DVD. Like, you don't just want a rod that can throw your swim bait. You want a rod that can make it throw that swim bait easily.
Yes.
Can you throw it for 12 hours? Because if it can just barely get the job done, you're not going to throw it very much. And these companies, these big companies, are manufacturing swim bait rods like. Over freaking gun them, overdo it, like yield on the high side, not on the gutless side. Put on friggin' guides that are saltwater grade too, by the way, if you want to not be idiots. I mean, I've had a couple situations where I'm fishing like these, come to find I have a bad guide or something because it was just cutting a corner, right?
Yeah.
But you snapping off a slider on a rod that should be, you know what I mean? Like, come on, dude, you don't build a 9-foot rod and not put on decent hardware, right? So
you do everything custom now if you buy a rod?
So performance tackle, right? So those guys have really educated me a ton, right? So I'm fishing with Phoenix blanks. Totally stoked. Fishing with Phoenix.
I'm a big Phoenix guy.
Yeah. So. No, I was fishing Phoenix doodle rods and the Ivino stuff in the 90s. I still have my they're like wall hangers. It's artwork. Don Ivino's a big influence. And, my friend Cameron Smith from Dana Point. In fact, that's how I got fishing tournaments in California in Dana Point. I was in a high school class with him, and
oh wow,
we just happened to start talking and he was a stick rods. Yeah, no. Well, my new is. I'm kind of messing around with wrapping my own stuff, not because I've learned a ton from Tommy over performance. I'm just totally. That's why there's a market like the low down customs guys, these F5 guys, whatever. Yeah. Like, no one's making 8.5, 9 footers with the right components. The custom, it's not that. The custom. It's interesting to me because I like rods sometimes with short handles, and I like them with long handles. It depends upon the application, right? If if I'm doing a lot of cranking and winding, I want that big long rod handle for the it's literally mathematics. It's the triangle, right? So I can, when I make a cast, I can keep my weedless swim bait running higher in the water column perfectly. The perfect swim at a longer distance with a longer rod. It's just literally facts. Now we have these fast gear ratio, low profile rods. So I feel like just mathematically, I'm covering more water with a better swim at a better distance. And the tournament organizations have taken away the 8-foot rod rule, thank God. So why not? Why are we not fishing with 8.5, 9 footers more? Why? And these people that work in the industry, they're like, oh my gosh, there's not enough market for these things. I'm like, if you guys aren't nimble enough to create, what's
Lowdown.
needed.
I feel like Lowdown does a really good job with rods.
Dude, that guy hooked me up with a couple, and he's using Phoenix blanks, I believe, right? And he gave me a couple, and I was blown away. It was the first time I got off these G Loomis bounce back rods I was using forever. I was like, wow, these things are really nice, and they can throw this bait. They're more beefy in some cases. So I'll be the first one to admit, when I was doing my DVD, and I mean, I was locked in my own world, kind of fishing old school classic gear it's heavy, it's bulletproof, it's not the most ergonomically awesome. A 400 TE and a 966 Loomis is like, my fishing's changed. Now I'm fishing a 9-footer with like a 400 low profile, right? I like that the like Shimano Tranks. Yeah. I like the Okuma, whatchamacallit, that their SS
Komodo or Komodo,
the SS
right?
Komodo, yeah. I mean, those things are dope. I mean, the 400 series, I'm fishing a 130-pound braid, straight braid on my slider out there on the Calcos. Why? Because 120 is only about 15, 17-pound diameter.
Yeah.
The only thing I'm worried about is breaking that thing off on a hook set or on having a double or triple where I cut on something sharp. I don't like fishing with leaders if I can get away with it. I just don't like the knot. I just don't like it. So that's been my workaround. Is I'm fishing heavier braid. I keep it black. I fish it hard, but it's just there's no reason not to, right? With all the snatching and all the cleaning of your hooks going through the kelp and all this stuff, like I've broken 80 plenty of times. I mean, it's one of those things like I don't want to have to retire every hour or two.
Yeah.
I'd rather have to retire every 4 hours. Even with 120, I'm going to retire once or twice throughout the day. People don't. It's that first couple feet of your line, the repeated casting. It's your bait flying through the air, your hooks nicking on the line that first couple feet, the split ring. Who knows what the heck it's getting weak on exactly? But I've lost some amazing lures, like just being a dummy and not retiring. People just thinking like, oh, I got 80, I'm good. It's like, no, I'm like. It's all relative, right? Like it's 50 if you just straight pull it, but if you hit it with a slight nick, that braid will cut like nothing, right? So there's always context to be aware of, right?
Yeah.
But, anyway, what else did you want to know about?
I have another question.
Go ahead.
Did you get this? We'll kind of wrap it up. Did you get flack when recording that DVD, the first one over there on the lakes? The people kind of. Give you shit at all? No, pretty cool.
I mean, all things considered, I try to be respectful, not even drop lake names and just kind of high level,
Yeah.
It's not that hard to figure out where we were fishing and, no, I mean, for the most part, people have been very respectful to me.
That's cool.
And I
just wondered if that's something,
No, I mean, every once in a while you hear some negative whatever, but it's funny because the times I go back, and I haven't been back to some of them in a while, I'm thinking, oh, this bite's done. It's already played out. I'm like, there's not a boat in the parking lot. I mean, one of the lakes, my Cherokee girlfriend, we'll call her, I go back there like, a couple years after the filming with 80-pound straight braid, kind of proving these series again. I got on film. I've posted to YouTube some of these sessions. We whack them. Just again, like it doesn't. It's all about like hey, it's warm weather. I know I can get them on triple trout or the rat. It's already there. But now with braid and fishing faster, with more radical turns, more radical stalls, being able to, if you get hung up in a wood or something with braid, just pull that sucker clean, right? It doesn't ruin your cast. There's all kinds of weird advantages.
Yeah.
And I just don't think, 80-pound that's kept very black, even in the clearest water, is extremely low profile if you let it be. But if you're going to slow grind a HUD off points uphill, that's not the choice. But if you're going to use it kind of as a power bait, reaction bait, power fishing, fish your braid. And I from saltwater to freshwater, I don't care how fresh. I can't make claims to fame like I'm some big fish guru or I'm catching 10s all the time. I'm trying to get my fishing back on. But where I think I'm strong is I have a bunch of applications of swim baits across the country and now into the salt. And I'm kind of simplifying the approach of like, look, have a slide swimmer, have a Gancraft, have a MS Slammer, have a rat, have a Huddleston, have a triple trout, have a triple trout cut tail. That's kind of where I'm at. Some, a lot of the same tools, a lot of little offshoots of my current tools. But that's kind of, that slide swimmer. I mean, what are some of the lessons of the slide swimmers? Like, think about how quiet that thing is. It's got rubber in the joint. It's not. I mean, we should be looking to dampen our baits, not make them more rattly.
Really, you think that? I heard people say the opposite. That's
well, I mean, of course, right? It's arguable, right?
Just,
we all have.
It's just something good. I love hearing the different perspectives.
So
all the
where's
time,
the proof, right? So like, and that's what people are like. Well,
it's in the pudding, bro.
My uncle one time back in, you're like, bro, where's your video? Where's your something? Like, don't tell me about some story because I don't trust you.
Yeah.
Because you're too much of a pay to play tournament guy. I hate to say it, but until you've established some credibility, and if you're out there posting stupid stuff that's not even true. Then you've really lost your, as far as I'm concerned, right? Like I'm a big, like, if you think somebody's a bad person, prove it or say something, like, or if you have a theory, back it up with something, like, for example, and I think that's what we can do to elevate the sport and elevate the talking points and to kind of, there's a lot of big data around fishing. I mean, some of my earliest swim bait things, these were guys that were taking, like, dude, why would you go and throw anything but a swim bait or a jig or a big worm? Those are the baits that catch big ones.
Yeah.
Right? Like there's you don't go throw a drop shot. I mean, there's certain things you can do to play the numbers. Don't go to that lake. Don't go to El Cap when, Poway's got the 19, right? The 19 is not going to, I mean, there's all these different numbers. You look at the smart guys that would play the, moon phases and time of year and what lure to be throwing at what time. It's really not as complicated as it appears to be, especially when you get into the trout eater giant trophies. You're like, dude, these guys are just, that's right.
What so let's when do you think your second DVD is going to be out?
So the good news is I'm moving to San Diego, and the reason that's good news is because I'll finally have some space to spread out and hopefully have computers and hard drives. I've literally probably got like 6 or 7 hard drives that I'm trying to manage into one single, right? Because editing video is just a pain in the balls because it's hard to focus and do, but it's hard to know. It's hard to inventory because you know where that stuff is, right? And that one clip that you said that funny thing at that one time, so it all comes down to you, and then you just can't have access to 7 hard drives from one computer at the same time, right? You're unplugging, replugging, you've got to run it through a tool to actually do the encoding so not only do you have to have access to the video, but you've got to then put it on your local device in order to manipulate it. So it's just a lot of work. That's a lot of focus, and truthfully, I'm just, I'm guilty of just not being focused, motivated, and nor have I been able to tell the story. I'm not sure what the hell I'm trying to say or do here with this, but I know that my experience of living in the South and being a California guy and doing what I did and coming back, I just have this perspective on, hey guys, I think a lot of the division in this country is not real. I think it's been kind of perpetuated by our enemies, and I'm trying to get people to like, look, we have people that are stoking things and pushing things that are not, and unfortunately, some people tend to believe it more than others. And I don't know. It really, like I say, like I want to see fishing be awesome and be a sport that's not associated with, I don't know, white supremacy or just stupid stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, stuff that we solved 100. I mean, like, dude, the regression in some cases, like, dude, no. I don't need guys who are okay with these things, right? I'm not wink, wink, nod, nod. I'm not okay with this stuff, right?
Yeah. And you're voicing your opinion, and I think that's cool.
That's right. I mean, I have nothing to lose. The guys who are totally, if someone could cut your sponsorship check tomorrow if you said something,
of course,
and
you're
that's
not
the
gonna
game.
say anything,
that's the game. I'm like, that's why I like having a job outside the industry.
Well, thank God we're not sponsored right now, so I can say whatever the fuck I want to say.
That's right.
Thank you for coming on, Matt. Where can they reach you at?
You can reach me at southernswimbait@gmail.com. That's probably my
and
best
then your
way to get me.
Instagram, Southern Swimbait too, right?
I'm at Southern Swimbait. That's
okay,
right.
Great. Thanks again for coming on, man. Hopefully we can get you on again and talk more. We still got a lot to talk about. Check him out, guys. Check out his DVD. It's probably one of the best swimbait DVDs I've ever seen. Amazing. Help support. Thanks for listening. Thanks for coming on, Matt.
Thanks, Nick.